It is now 4:06, and I'm joined by Steph Malinder. Hello, Steph.
Hi, Julie.
It's really lovely to welcome you here to Spire Radio, and I look forward to getting to know you a little bit more.
Yeah.
I know that you are a local business lady. You've got a business in Chesterfield.
I do, yeah.
Yeah. Where is it?
Well, it's a busy cafe.
I know. I'm acting daft, aren't I, really? Yeah, it's a cafe.
Am I allowed to say the name?
Of course you are.
Oh, right, okay. It's Woodhead's Cafe, just behind Cafe Nero. We've been there about 7 years. Woodhead's has been in Chesterfield since like 18-something or other. It's an old business.
Has it come through have you come through the family or have...
No. The original Mr. Woodhead that we bought it from, his two sons weren't interested in carrying on the business, so
okay.
He retired and we jumped in.
Right. Because I remember it from years ago. So I have been in before. There's it's sort of down the pretty shambly areas, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in the yards, and that's got all sorts of little, quaint little shops and things, little independent businesses down there. It's quite nice down there, but we're a bit tucked away.
But the people that know you there, have you got a regular customer base?
Oh, we've got hundreds of regular customers, and lots of people come in, and they always say, "Oh, I used to come in here with my nan," and it's really nice. We've got the same people that come in every day.
Every day?
They come in every day for their dinner. We do a dinner like their mum used to make, apparently. So for the price of a pint is what they say.
Oh, really?
So, it's just normal food for normal people, really.
Yeah. No, I always think when people are coming onto Spire Radio, why not use the opportunity to talk about your business or your community group or whatever it is that you're here, to talk about. It's a great opportunity. So, but together we share a diagnosis of fibromyalgia.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't realise until earlier when we were just having a chat that your diagnosis is not really common knowledge.
No, it's not anything really that I've talked about very much, even to my family, and they don't even sort of understand either, because they look at me and I'm still trying to do all the stuff with a smiley face, and it's difficult for them. No, they look at me and think, how can you be ill?
Yeah, it's really hard, isn't it? I know for our listeners, March, gosh, that were ages ago, May the 12th is the International Fibromyalgia Awareness Day, and in Chesterfield we had an event on the Saturday the 11th, and one of the big things this year that the British Fibromyalgia, the biggest charity, their approach is awareness and becoming aware, so that your family or people that you work with, colleagues, neighbours, become more fibro aware. And a lot of the things that were shared were letters, sort of pretend letters to your family or friends, and I did read through them, and they were quite a good way of doing it. Talking about the different symptoms that you can have and how you might feel in the morning, and because things do alter as the days go by, and I think you'll agree that with fibromyalgia, one day is not the same as the next.
No, some days you have really good days and you think, oh yeah, perhaps I'm not ill, and then other days you can hardly get out of bed, but you have to get out of bed because you've got work to do and a family and things, and
it's hard sometimes.
It's really tough. It's tough enough being a woman, but having this as well is very difficult sometimes.
How does it work with work? Are you able to have some kind of flexibility with your fibro?
Yeah, well, I generally do 4 shifts or so a week. In the mornings, I generally find I'm better in the mornings once I'm up and about.
Yeah.
I wake up in the morning, I struggle to get out of bed generally. My fingers feel like sausages, and every morning I drop my phone, pick my phone up to see what the time is and drop it every morning.
Are you a bit like the Tin Woman? Do you get a bit stiff?
You sort of stagger into the bathroom. My toes feel like they're enormous, even though they're not swollen or anything, but they just feel huge. So you stagger in, but after a little while you sort of loosen up a bit, and I come into work, and I am not as energetic as I used to be at work, and I drop an awful lot of things because my fingers don't work properly anymore. My wrists seem to not do what, they're just suddenly flip and I've dropped.
Is it things like opening jars or bottles?
Yep, opening jars. There's a lot of heavy lifting in a cafe, which you don't really sort of realise when you go out and have a burger somewhere. But actually, we're always carrying heavy things round, and I can't carry heavy things anymore. I struggle lifting the oil drum up. I struggle lifting, even at the moment, I'm struggling with the chip scuttle, which sounds daft. My right arm just won't do what I want it to do. And you just generally, as the day goes on, and with it being fairly active, once I finish after my 6-hour shift, I'm pretty dead, to be honest. And then on top of that, it feels like you've got a ton of bricks on your shoulders, pushing you down.
Yeah.
And your eyes won't stay open. I get really tired. And I've never been one to fall asleep, but I can just get home, sit down, and before you know it, I'm fast asleep.
Yeah.
Very tired.
I've just realised that for people that aren't listening, they might not actually know what fibromyalgia is. So we might have to backpedal a little bit. And maybe after this next record, we could actually share a little bit more about what the condition is.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Yep.
Is that all right?
That's
okay.
fine.
So we did say we'd do a bit of backpedaling, didn't we, Steph, to actually talk about maybe what fibromyalgia is. Not everybody knows what it is. You might have heard people, I don't know, in the cafe or on the bus, or, you know, that people have got it. But we did a lot of research for this and tried to condense it into like short and snappy and accurate, well, descriptives really. So it says that fibromyalgia is a complex, life-changing condition of the central nervous system. The condition is believed to be associated with disturbances in how the brain processes pain and other sensory information. Sufferers feel pain more acutely than others, have a higher sensitivity to pain, and a lower pain tolerance. What do you think to that?
That isn't the case for me. Well, the pain is the case. I've always had a very high tolerance of pain. I can plough my way through most things, but this does drain me completely.
Yeah. How do you find the other symptoms that aren't pain? So things like the stiff fingers in the morning, and do your feet hurt when you first get up?
Yep, my feet hurt. I'm very stiff. My fingers just don't work in the morning, and I could just describe it as having sausages for fingers.
Yeah. I know on here, some of the symptoms, it talks about stiffness. It's very common in the morning to be stiff, so that's, you're amongst friends with that one. Fatigue, feeling physically and mentally exhausted. And I think it's fair to say that fatigue is different to tiredness, isn't it?
Fatigue is, you're literally absolutely exhausted.
Yeah.
Tiredness is nothing compared. I've never been one for falling asleep, but I can just, at the end of the day, I'm just, one minute I'm sat there, the next minute I'm fast asleep.
You're gone.
Yeah.
And another one is cognitive problems. And with this, sometimes I have to laugh to ease my, not embarrassment, but it talks about forgetting words, lack of concentration, memory problems. And so when I'm on the radio, sometimes I just can't find words to describe things. Does that happen to you at all?
In the cafe, we've got like a cupboard at the back that's got all the stuff in it that I need. So I'm cooking in the kitchen. I think, oh, I need a tin of beans. I'll come round the corner, go round, stand in the cupboard, and I just stand there. And I'm just looking blankly at all these shelves of food, thinking, why have I come in this cupboard? And it's getting worse, and it must happen several times a day. And I go back into the kitchen and think, and
beans, I wanted beans.
Or I say to somebody, what did I go around for? And they'll say, beans. Like, oh, right, yeah. And it happens so many times. It's embarrassing.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think the worst thing is when you've gone upstairs and you stood up the stairs and you're exhausted and you think, what did I want up here?
It's such an effort to go up
and then you've got to go back down. I think that's good when somebody else is in the house, so you can shout them to bring it up for you, because it is hard work.
See, my partner has said to me a few times recently, did you do such and such and such? And I'll say, well, you never said. Yes, we had this conversation and we had a really big argument about it a couple of weeks ago.
Had you forgot? Or did you?
I'm still adamant he never said, but he's absolutely adamant that he did. And obviously I've forgotten.
Yeah.
Something vague recollection, but I don't remember the conversation.
How do you help yourself to remember things? Do you write them down? Have you got a diary? Or
I've always been one for lists. I always write lists of things, always.
Have you got a list of lists?
Well, I've not got to that point yet.
Oh, I have, yeah. And my post-it notes. And I've got this favourite pencil that goes everywhere with me. Because I feel that I can write quickly and nicely with this, so that when I read back the notes, I've got a clue what I was actually on about. So, yeah, lists are a good thing.
Yeah, I do a lot of lists.
It's a good coping mechanism, isn't it? I mean, there's all sorts on this list, but can we come back to them in a minute? We need to go to an ad break, and then we'll be back with the script. If you've just joined us, it is 28 minutes past 4. I'm Julie Drury, and I'm the host on today's Drive Time show through till 6 p.m. when Jordan takes over with the chart show. I'm very lucky today to have a guest with me, Steph Malinder, who is... Are you the owner or the manager?
I'm the owner. I'm the real boss.
The boss. The boss.
I mean, obviously, there's me and my partner. We own Woodheads, but I always say I'm the real boss.
Yeah, so the boss of Woodheads. So she's a woman in business in Chesterfield, and between the two of us, we share a common diagnosis of fibromyalgia, and we were just sharing with each other the different symptoms and trying to make light of some of the things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. One of the things that I would like to say to you is about sensory overload. Do you know what it means by that at all?
Well, do you mean like, I have problems with my eyes?
Yeah, so it can be all your senses, so light
is particularly bad for me, and one of the worst places is walking through the precinct, because I park my car in that car park next to Tesco's.
Yeah.
And all I do is walk through it. I might go to Tesco's once in the day. And there's something about the lights in there. Never used to worry me whatsoever, but this last year now, I almost have to wear sunglasses most of the time if I can, or I walk with my head down so I'm not looking, and it just makes me feel so poorly.
Yeah.
It
Did
really
they bring
does.
on migraines at all? Do you have migraines?
I've never had migraines.
Oh.
No, I'm lucky.
Oh, you lucky lady.
Yeah, no, I don't. Not yet, anyway. But
with the sensory overload, my biggest problem is smell. So it can be somebody's perfume, it can be something cooking, jacket potatoes, pulled pork are my enemies. They almost instantly, the sensory overload just goes into free fall, and it's a great big migraine. I end up in bed and everything. So like here in the studio today, you'll note that the curtains are shut because I can't cope with the bright light and any glare that we get on the screen. So,
I struggle with that too. And in fact, I was getting dizzy spells, but I only really get them in the precinct. I've worked out that that's where I get dizzy, in the precinct, and I think it's the light is so bright on my eyes. My eyes water a lot. They never used to water. They always water now. And in fact, when I had my last eye test, I was complaining about dark shadows going across my right eye.
Yeah.
And they were so worried, they sent me straight off to Marlborough to have all these horrible eye things done, and they couldn't find anything, and it was put down to fibro.
Really?
Like if they can't find something, they seem to put it down to fibro.
Yeah, you see, that's what worries me sometimes, that also another person with fibro will get a symptom and automatically assume that it's fibro, and like you say, sometimes doctors will pass it off as, oh yeah, that'll be your fibro, and is it really?
See, I've often said, how do I know if I suddenly get a random, because I get sort of random pains. I'll be sat here talking to you, and then suddenly I'll get a stabbing pain in my ankle for some obscure reason for 20 seconds, and then you sort of like,
yeah,
and then it's
gone.
It's okay, it's gone. But it makes you think, if you, it could not, it might not be fibro, mightn't it? It could be something else.
I do find pain quite interesting, and pain isn't just pain, is it? There's lots of different types of pain. So like you said, like a stabbing, I suffer a lot with nerve pain, so it's like a electricity, like stinging pain. It can be aches, there can be cramps.
Oh, I suffer with cramps in my leg.
Do you?
They're used to me at work when I'm just busy bringing a plate of food out, and then I'll suddenly go, cramp, 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 like this. And it's so painful.
Yeah.
And then I'm hobbling. I don't stop. I carry on, but I'm hobbling around looking stupid with a plate of chips.
Goodness, but it's wonder the chips don't go up in the air.
Yeah. We've had the odd episode.
I know you said earlier that sleep, you get tired and you couldn't easily... What about when you get in bed at night? Do you sleep well or...
Well, I've got one of these Fitbit things, so that it tells you what your sleep is, and I always dream an awful lot, which is obviously, that's a disturbed sleep. That's not when you're in a deep sleep.
Yeah.
I don't have a huge amount of deep sleep. I basically, every time you turn over, I wake up because I'm stiff and I hurt. And,
yeah.
If you need to go to the toilet in the night, it's like you're walking like a tin man, like you said earlier. Yeah, it's quite a disturbed sleep.
And then, of course, they say that fibro sleep is not always refreshing. So when you get up in the morning, some people might think that they can conquer the world in a morning. No. We don't really feel like that.
No, I don't. I never feel refreshed in the morning.
No. So with your work, how many are in your team to help you with your business?
Well, I'm lucky. We've got about 12 members of staff, all do different things. I mainly cook, so if the other lady that's off, like today, she'd normally do today, I step in for her. So in the past, I used to step in for everybody. If they were ill, yeah, Steph will do it. And it's at the stage now where Steph can't do it. And I used to do double shifts and everything. I can't do double shifts. But it gets to about 4 o'clock and I'm thinking in my head, I can't do this anymore. I just can't.
Oh, dear.
It's tough sometimes. So anyway, I've got to tell myself, Steph, you can't do these things anymore. You've got to stop it and say no sometimes.
And how long have you been diagnosed with fibro?
It's about 2 years. Originally, I had hip pain and they diagnosed me with osteoarthritis in my hip, which really, really upset me, but not as much as when I was later diagnosed with fibro. I told everybody I had osteoarthritis in my hip, but then when they did a load more tests because of other things were aching and hurting, I was much more embarrassed for some reason and didn't want to tell anybody.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that because you were scared of being judged in any way, or what? Why didn't you want to tell people?
I think because it has such a stigma, and I have to admit I was one of those people that did think, oh, don't be ridiculous, you look perfectly fine, you can't be ill. And I was one of those people. And then when it happens to you, you realise, I'm wrong, I was wrong, you know, I've been so unfair.
I will say for me, I would say I've got more empathy and sympathy for people, not just with fibro, but with health problems, with life problems, more than I ever did have. I think struggling yourself has made me almost a better person. That might sound really weird, but if I see older people, I've got a lot of elder friends who I talk to on the bus. You probably have them come into your
lots of
cafe.
We do, yeah.
And we sit and we have a chat, and I've found that they tell me things that they don't want to burden their family with. I bet you probably get...
Our cafe's a bit like we're a little bit of a community.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. We do get a lot of that. And a lot of lonely people come in and they don't have anyone to talk to, and they tell us things, and sometimes we have to be social workers and doctors, and lady downstairs was having to be a dentist the other day. And, we try and give people advice and point them in directions. And
that's when I was working as a hairdresser. You're very much a psychologist, a marriage guidance counsellor, all rolled into one. So, yeah, I do kind of get that. But where would we be without places like Woodhead Cafe and, little hairdressers where they can sit and have a chat? And
yes, yeah.
Yeah. It just helps, doesn't it?
It does help, yeah.
After this little ad break, in fact, let's have a song first. Do you like Imagine Dragons?
I don't think I've ever
Have
heard
you not heard it? Oh,
No.
goodness. I'll introduce you to Imagine Dragons.
Oh, go on then.
And then maybe I could ask you if you'd like some of your favourites playing in this next half an hour. This is called Thunder. You will have heard it, but you just, I'll reintroduce you to it. we were just briefly talking about the Fibro support group in Chesterfield. Steph, you've not been to any of their meetings, have you?
I haven't. They're always on a Saturday, which is very busy if you're working in the cafe world.
Absolutely. We do have a meeting 4 times a year, which is in an evening. But yeah, unfortunately our meetings are on a Saturday. But this last week we had an awareness event, and we had a fair number of new people come, see what we're about, get some information. And we tried it in a cafe, whereas normally we meet in Chesterfield Library. And I don't know what it was, but as people were sat round having a coffee, people did talk amongst each other. So I guess that's something that you find in your cafe.
There's an awful lot of talking that goes on in the
Do
cafe.
people share tables? You know, if they're walking and think, oh, there's nowhere to sit. Do people sort of say, would you like to sit with me?
Yes, they do. They do. We've got a lot of regulars that come in just really, I think, more for a chat than a cup of tea.
Really?
To be fair. And it's probably going on now, anytime from about 4 o'clock onwards, is like a bit of a club of people that come in. And last night we were talking about old films.
Oh, the black
Zulu,
and white.
Zulu.
Oh, really? Yeah.
One of the things they were talking about, cathedral. It's just a big range of topics that they all talk about, and it's just really nice.
And what time do you shut?
Well, we close at 5, but we've generally still got people in then.
To turf them out?
Yeah, we do. Well, no, I don't. I'm too nice. I just stay there until they're ready to go.
Over the very cold cup of tea that they've got. Oh, dear. Yeah, I think that would be my downfall, actually.
When people are lonely, they just want to talk, and I can't tell them to stop it. Off you go. So.
And do you get a mix of men and women, or is it?
Yeah, it's a big mix of people.
Yeah.
They're not all elderly. We've got families that come in regularly, and shoppers and people.
Am I right in thinking that you've got a downstairs and an upstairs?
Yes.
I've never been upstairs.
It's very strange. People are either downstairs people or upstairs people.
Oh, is it?
That tends to be. There's not many that go up and down.
Really?
For whatever reason. Downstairs is counter service, and upstairs is we come to the tables for waitress service. So I don't know if that makes a difference, but it's the same friendly up and down.
Yeah. Blimey. This next song, do you like The Greatest Showman?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You'll love this one then, won't you? This is me. When I want to empower myself, if I'm having a day where I'm questioning myself, I try and put this on. In fact, I've got quite a few songs that I put on like that. And on Spotify, I've made a playlist. I think, Julie, what have I called it? Something like Living Positively with Fibromyalgia. So all my favourites are in there to empower me. So, yeah, let's share this one. This is Keela Settle with This Is Me. I know for Steph, some of your customers didn't know who Spire Radio were. And like I've just shared, we, for the last year, have been doing the commentary for Chesterfield Football Club. And we tend to do it for Dronfield and maybe Matlock and like a general sports roundup on a Saturday. We were involved with the Street Food and Grooves Festival that they had this last weekend. So yeah, we do get out and about. We're very much a community radio station. So for me, when I first joined up, I made it very clear what I wanted my show to be about. And they were, go for it, which is brilliant. So I use this as a platform to share and talk about things that I care about. I think it's great when local business people like yourself come on and we talk about your businesses and community groups, any events and so on. So hopefully this will be your first connection, but that you'll keep in touch.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything better, playing all the music that you really like and chatting.
Absolutely. When it was my birthday in November, I thought, right, this is it. I'm going to put all my favourites on, and I absolutely loved it. But what I will say is, since I started doing this show, I found new artists, people that I never knew existed. And I realised that for quite a block of my life, when my children were younger, I kind of detached a little bit from music because I didn't have the time. Whereas now, my girls find music. My eldest daughter has got Lewis Capaldi in her car, and every time we get in, you can guarantee it's Lewis Capaldi. But I love music, and I don't know about you. For me, music is my therapy. So when I'm feeling down, it can lift me up. When I'm excited, it can, it stirs up lots of emotions and memories. Yeah, I love it.
I'm a bit of a folky, so I like sort of a big mix of folk kind of music.
Well, we have Kentucky Jelly, who is David Miller. His show is sort of country music and that kind of vibe. So you'd probably quite enjoy that. But he's introduced me to some really good artists. Maybe I can share some with you.
You have to open your mind to music, don't you? There's so much out there.
Absolutely.
It's not all 80s music that I always used to listen to. That's all I listened to.
Yeah.
80s music.
That's when you're growing up, though, and
I don't know, I had my Black Eyed Peas album on the other day.
Oh, you see, I love will.i.am.
He's just brilliant.
Yes, I love his glasses. I know it's a bit bonkers, but I'd love to be bold enough to wear the things he does. I just think he's amazing.
He's a very nice chap, isn't he? And he does an awful lot of charity and groups and things. So.
He's just so quirky as well. Yeah. I like quirky. I know there's a bit of a joke about exam invigilators wearing a certain outfit with a coffee cup and a scarf. And I try to break the mould of what an exam invigilator is by wearing my orange kickers and smiling at everybody. I'll share them. I've got them on today. It's 12 minutes past 5. I'm Julie Drury, and I'm your host on today's Drive Time show. With me is Steph Malinder from Woodhead's Cafe. And between us, we're talking about fibromyalgia, a condition that we both live with day to day. I've been asking Steph about life and working life with fibro, and we kind of laughed a little minute ago because it's like coming out. Steph's only sort of acknowledging that she's got the condition, and it is hard to talk about.
It's really hard to talk about. There's such a stigma that goes with it that people don't understand, and I've come to the conclusion now that I need to talk about it. I can't keep it in anymore and hide it. Well, I can't hide it anymore because people see me in pain at work and taking tablets to try and sort it out and
keep going.
Yeah, keep going, and I can't hide it anymore. And anyway, it's nothing to be ashamed of, is it?
It's not. And by talking with me, I mean, we've not really shut up yet, have we? That's why we missed that talking then, because we were chatting. When you talk to someone else who lives with the same problems as yourself, you don't have to go into even an explanation because we kind of understand it. It's like just a general level of understanding. What I would like to play for you is this song. Lady Gaga has got a fibromyalgia, and it's been known that she's cancelled dates because of it. By dates, I mean concerts. Her, Morgan Freeman, Sinead O'Connor, they've all got fibromyalgia. So this song is, for me, I listened to it and it hit me like somebody had smacked me round the face, because it felt like I was talking about myself. So I would like to share this with you and with our listeners, but I just don't want us to get upset. So it might be a bit hard. So this song is called Till It Happens to You. So here we go. What did you think?
Yeah, that's amazing, because that's how I was, until it happened to me. I didn't really believe it very much. My voice is a bit wobbly now.
Sorry. Sorry, I wanted to share that with you because I didn't know whether it were just me, but I think all people that live with some kind of a chronic illness, be that diabetes or multiple sclerosis, anything really that is life-changing. With fibromyalgia, it's not life, what would the words be? It is life-changing, but it won't kill you.
No.
Sometimes, you might feel really poorly and there is no cure, but you can still live your life and make the best of life. But yeah, it's just a bit hard sometimes.
It is hard. Do you ever get that thing? I get this thing sometimes where I've got this itch and it's on my shoulder. Well, I think it's on my shoulder. And it doesn't matter how hard I scratch it, it doesn't go away. It's such a bizarre thing, and to the point where people are either laughing because they think it's funny, but it's not. It's
awful.
Again, it's signals, isn't it?
Yeah.
The signals being wrong.
When I go to bed at night, you can buy those back scratchers, can't you?
Yeah.
From like the pound shop or whatever. It's really awful. I probably shouldn't admit this, but I take a fork with me. You know, like an eating fork.
Yeah.
And I've got to be really careful because I'm sure that sometimes I probably scratch a little bit more than I should do. But I do know it's like your skin. It's just like, it's an unsolvable itch. Yeah.
Very frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. We are going to have to go to an ad block, and then I'd like to share with you another one of my favourites, if that's okay, Steph.
I'm really enjoying it.
Time is flying. It's 5:21. So yeah, we'll be back in a moment. Welcome back. Julie here with Steph, and it is now 23 minutes past 5. Jordan's arrived at the studio for his show at 6 o'clock, and I'd like to share this one with you. I know that you like folk music, and Tim McGraw, I know you said that you'd heard of this song, Humble and Kind. One of our presenters, David Miller, who is the Kentucky Jelly guy, I don't know why he's called that. I must ask him. I'm sure he must have told me one day, but he introduced this to me. He sent a request into one of my shows, and I absolutely love it. So this is Tim McGraw with Humble and Kind. How did you find that?
Lovely. Really lovely.
Yeah. I know that you like folk. Am I right in thinking that there's a festival? What's it called?
Well, there's various festivals. We go to one called Cropredy, which is run by Fairport Convention.
Ah.
So they do a couple of sets, and then there's all sorts of other artists, and you just sit in the sunshine listening to music, drinking wine.
Oh, that sounds perfect. Can you camp out? Is it a day thing or is it a weekend?
No, it's a weekend, so we're lucky. I've got a little caravan that we take, so we only use it once a year, really, and that's when we use it.
Wow. You'll have to give me details of that. I could share it on the Spire Radio webpage.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Oh. We didn't play the news at 4:30, so we're going to go to a bit of news, if that's okay. There we go. That was the news. It's now 5:31. We've got one of your favourites, or one of your bands that you like.
I bet nobody's ever even heard of them.
Well, you never know. I didn't think anyone had heard of Suzanne Vega, but you did, and you said,
oh, yes,
your fella likes Suzanne Vega.
Big fan. Yeah.
I went to see her in Nottingham. I don't know where you went to see her. Can you remember?
I can't actually remember. I think it was somewhere down south. I think it might have been Bournemouth, actually.
Oh, really?
Where we lived at the time. Near where we lived at the time.
Yeah. So, Bellowhead, what kind of a group are they?
Well, they're not together anymore, which is really sad. But they're a bit of a mad folk group with trumpets and saxophones, and you've got your fiddles and bass and.
Sounds my cup of tea.
It's nice and jolly.
Is it?
Yeah.
Right. Well, here we go then. This is Bellowhead with New York Girls.
Asked me back to see a place she lived on Barrack Street and away, Santee, my dear Annie, all you New York girls can't you dance the polka? And when we got to Barrack Street we stopped at 40 and sister were waiting at the door. And away, Santy, my dear Annie, oh, you New York girls, can't you dance the polka? Inside the house, the drinks were passed around. The liquor was so awful strong, my head went round and round. And then we had another drink before we slept to eat. The liquor was so awful strong, I quickly fell asleep. And away, Santy, my dear Annie, oh, you New York girls, can't you dance the polka? When I awoke next morning, I had an aching head. There was I, Jack, all alone, stuck naked in that bed. My gold watch and my money and my lady friend were gone. There was I, Jack, all alone, stuck naked in that room. And away, Santy, my dear Annie, oh, you New York girls, can't you dance the polka? When a woman shipped an apron that were no use to me, with a barrel for a suit of clothes down Cherry Street forlorn, where Martin Churchill took me and he sent me round Cape Horn. So sailor lads, take warning, when you land on New York shore, you'll have to get up early to be smarter than a whore. And away, Santy, my dear Annie, oh, you New York girls, can't you dance the polka? And away, Santy, my dear Annie, oh, you New York girls, can't you dance the polka?
I absolutely love that. I think that you ought to introduce me to more of your music.
Well, it's nice boppy music.
Absolutely.
We were chair dancing, weren't we?
We were chair dancing. And as I said, it's when you get the spoons out and you can, absolutely love it, with a pint of cider or something. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I thought we'd have something a little bit mellow as we go into this ad break, with the Beatles. The Beatles are a bit like Queen. You can't go wrong, can you?
Everyone likes the Beatles.
Absolutely. Return of the Mac. That reminds me of days many moons ago when I used to go out on a Saturday night with the girls. It's like a pub kind of boogie kind of song. It's 5:46, which means that it's time for us to say goodbye until next week. So thank you, Steph, for coming today. It's been
thank
really
you for
lovely.
having me.
No, it's been lovely to chat with you and get to know you as a person, and for us to swap notes on life with fibro. So for me, I think you do amazingly with running a business and putting all the hours in that I know you do. So hopefully you'll keep connected with me, and if you ever would like to come to a group meeting, you'd be more than welcome.
I will definitely try. Yeah, definitely try. It'll be worthwhile. And
Even if you can bob in for 20 minutes.
Yeah, in between courses of tables of food.
Yeah, blimey. But if you're a regular listener to my show, you know that I do mention fibromyalgia because my role at Spire Radio is to interact with our community and the people of Chesterfield. So if that means that I might help someone by sharing with them that we have a support group in this town, then that's one box ticked for today.